Hi there, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Micki. Today we're going to be doing kimchi. A lot of people are talking about fermented vegetables and how good it is for your gut bacteria. One of the recipes that I like to try is this Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon. And here I'll open to page 94, where you will see Korean sauerkraut, also known as kimchi. Here's the recipe here, which I've used many times. The difference between Korean sauerkraut and just regular sauerkraut that you are probably most familiar with is that kimchi has more garlic and ginger in it, whereas sauerkraut typically just has cabbage and maybe other spices. But you can add really anything you want. In my garden, I have some greens growing. Sometimes I'll use, these are actually cauliflower greens. Okay, so I've already actually prepared all the vegetables here. In this bowl I have ginger and kale stems. Like I was saying before, I like to use whatever greens I have on hand, like collard greens sometimes. Here is cabbage. Now this has been grated up in the food processor, that's why it's so fine. If you want it thicker, you could cut it by hand. I prefer green cabbage as opposed to Napa cabbage or even purple cabbage, so that's been my favorite.
What is how much is that?
Oh, that's actually just one head of cabbage.
Okay, and this one, how much?
That's the recipe calls for, let's see here. What does it call for? Oh, 1 tablespoon, but obviously that's a lot more than 1 tablespoon.
Cool.
I kind of go heavy on the ginger. And here we have daikon radish. It just has a little bit of orange in it because I grated up in the food processor right after I grated up the carrot. And then we have here green onions. And it does call for 1 bunch of green onions. I'm using 2. I just kind of flub these ingredients a little bit, you know, whatever I see fit. I think I used 3 carrots. And it calls for 1 cup of carrots. This is clearly more. Only half a cup of daikon. Well, that's a lot more. The other ingredient that's interesting that it calls for in her book, like I was mentioning, is this is a quicker ferment. We're using whey to help us ferment. And the way I get whey, is I'll buy some Nancy's yogurt, and then I just set up this little contraption here.
What kind of yogurt do you use?
This is just a whole milk yogurt.
Mm-hmm.
And in here I have a sieve. Now you could use cheesecloth, but I just use a reusable, bag, because that way I can just put it in the dishwasher when I'm done. And then here I also have the whey. So once you set the yogurt out, the longer you strain it, the thicker the yogurt's going to get. And in here you'll see the yogurt has gotten thicker. And I'll just put this back in the container and eat it because it's delicious. And then here I have lots of whey. Now the whey will keep for about 6 months. And again, in this book she calls for a lot of whey. Almost the entire book, which is a sizable book here. Can you see?
Oh, yes, thank you.
All of these recipes most of her recipes do call for whey. So there's lots of different ways to use the whey.
So how long was this in here?
This has been going for approximately, hopefully a few hours actually, because I've been preparing all of the vegetables. Now,
and it's just been sitting out, and you just put it in there and let it sit for a few hours, and there it is.
There it is.
All right.
The longer you let it sit, the more whey you'll get. And again, I'll be putting this yogurt back into the container in a moment. So let's go ahead and start the process. So what we're going to do now is just combine all of these vegetables into this nice huge bowl from IKEA. I like this big bowl. So we're going to put it all in here. This is the ginger and garlic already chopped up in the food processor.
And how much garlic did you use?
Oh, I used quite a bit. Probably 4 cloves of garlic.
Wow.
Now this is the daikon radish going in. Okay, here's the carrot.
beautiful color.
And here's the green onions. So now what I'll want to do is I will read the directions actually on how much salt and whey to add. So 1 second while I get that recipe. All right, and now adding to this mixture, I'm going to put in a tablespoon of salt. Heaping, because I used a lot more ingredients that were in the recipe. And I'm going to put in 4 tablespoons of whey. 1, 2, 3, 4 tablespoons of whey. 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know why.
Well, you had like double the amount, you know.
Yeah, I did have a lot of ingredients. Now, to this I'm also going to add some red chili flakes. Now, it says ½ a teaspoon, but that's pretty good. So now to this we're going to mix it. This is going to require the use of lots of hands. So make sure your hands are clean. I'll just wash them one more time. And we'll go ahead and mix together all these ingredients like so. So we want to get it really good and mixed up. And once we've mixed it up, you're going to notice that the salt is going to help release a lot of juices from the vegetables. And that's good because we want that liquid, we want our vegetables submerged in that liquid. So we're just getting this really good and mixed up. Once I've mixed it well enough, I'm going to actually use a potato masher to start pressing it to help it start releasing the juices. Or you want to pause it. Okay, now you're going to see that the vegetables have been really mixed together really well. And now with the potato masher, and you could do this with your hands technically too, but I just find it to be easier to do it with the potato masher. I'm not mashing the vegetables. I'm simply pressing them. And what you're noticing is this liquid is starting to form. Now it would be better to do this with sort of a flat, you know, bowl, because I have curved sides here, but just get it in the middle. And we're going to do this for a while until you're going to see that the vegetables are pretty soupy and have this nice sauce that they're going to be fermenting in. Occasionally I've added water to this, but I think it's better if we just keep it at vegetables. All right, and there you go. Okay, so we've been mashing it, just like, you know, pressing it for a little while now. What would you say, about 5 minutes or so? Maybe less than that. And you're going to start really just seeing a lot of this liquiding coming up. Now, to jar it, what we're going to do is take a mason jar. Usually you can use small ones or larger ones. Maybe if you ferment it in here and you want to give it away, you could transfer it then to smaller containers. So we're going to take a handful of the mixture and we're really just going to be putting it in the jar, just like so. It's a little bit of a messy process. And once it starts to get full, I mean, you do want to leave a bit of room at the top. Just taking some of this liquid here. And we're going to start by pressing it down into the jar. And you'll see the liquid start to come up and cover the vegetables. And then we're just going to put a lid on this and set it on the counter for 2 to 3 days. And it will be fermented in 2 to 3 days due to the magic of the whey.
Wow.
You get all of that same beneficial bacteria that you would get from eating the yogurt. So if you'd like to see a finished product, this is what it's going to look like here when it's finished. And this one I actually used a lot of collard greens. That was we made
so
that
the color
this
would be
summer.
different.
Yeah, and it lasts in your refrigerator for a long time actually. I've had kimchi keep in my refrigerator, especially sealed, for over a year. That's the nice thing about fermented vegetables, is that they last, you know. And would you like to give it a try?
I would.
Okay. How do you like it?
Oh my gosh.
Can you just... So this concludes our video on how to make kimchi. Here are the 2 jars that we filled using that recipe. One is a ½ gallon, the other one is a quart-sized jar. And I'll let these sit on the counter now for 2 to 3 days. You will notice some bubbles start to form, and they'll work their way up the sides of the jar. That's going to be fine. That's going to be the action of the fermentation happening. And because of the way, it really only takes 2 to 3 days as opposed to a traditional ferment, which can take, 2 weeks to a month to get that sour flavor going. So once these are done, I'll just go ahead and put them in the fridge, and they can keep there for a very, very long time. You'll notice if they go bad. So feel free to enjoy the sour and health benefits of kimchi.